So good morning. Today's October 10th and it is Thursday, and as promised during yesterday's video, today is the kind of the climax of the whole pilgrimage. It was what we were pointing to the whole time, and it was the papal audience at the Vatican. We got up early and went to the Vatican and got there at 7 o'clock. Got in line and waited. We waited for a couple hours. It opened at 9. The audience was at 10. And we weren't at the beginning of the line, despite being there so early. But we were pretty close. We were told by the tour guide that when you get in, don't sit like by the aisle, get all the way back, and let me explain how this was set up. So the Vatican, if you can imagine, the basilica is straight ahead. Coming out from the basilica is a pavilion where the Pope's chair is, and it's covered. On one side, facing it to the right, are newlyweds in their wedding gowns. To the left are the cardinals. Beyond the cardinals are is a band, like the Swiss Guard band. And so we go in. They finally open the gate. We go in and coming down from the pavilion of the Pope are steps, and then there's a little aisle, and then there's seats. And the seats are cordoned off. There's a rail around them. Beyond the rail is where people stand for the papal audience. So half the square seated, half the square standing. We got into the seating area and we're told, go in and go to the left, to go all the way and be by the rail. And there was a reason for that, and that was going to become evident in just a little while. And what happened was, all of us, there was a big buzz. They were playing, the Swiss Guard was playing some music, and they were making announcements and stuff. And then the kind of a hush came over, and all of a sudden the Pope came out. He was in his Pope-mobile, and he actually drove all the way around through the aisles and all the way around. And so if you were on the end, you were very close to the Pope. So I was within 10 feet of the Pope when he came by, and he waves at everybody. Kind of gets your attention. I mean, it's pretty awesome. He had some kids on the Pope-mobile with him, which I guess were kids that were selected for whatever reason to ride with him. It was just a very awesome interaction between him and the folks. That went on for a while, and while that was going on, they were announcing, welcome the pilgrims from so-and-so, welcome the pilgrims from so-and-so. And they went, people from all around the world. And when they got to us, they said, welcome the pilgrims from New Orleans, Louisiana. They didn't realize we were from Baton Rouge, but we flew out of New Orleans. I guess that's how they got it. And so when he's finished with his touring around, he comes back to the front. They put him in a wheelchair. They wheel him up to his seat, and he sits there and says a prayer. And then after the prayer, he gives his address. It's in a foreign language. We didn't know what he said. But what happens after that is, one by one, people that spoke different languages would come up, address the Pope, thank him, tell him who they are. Then they would turn around and they would give a summation of the Pope's talk in their language, and then thank him on behalf of the people of that country. So when they got to the English, she told us what it was about. Just so you'll know, just a side note, I promised the pilgrims on our pilgrimage that I would find a copy of his address in English and send it out, and I was able to do that when we got back to America. I was able to find an English translation of his address. So anyway, so that goes on a pretty long time, because you got all these different languages, you got all the interactions, and then you get to the real finale, where he gives everybody the papal blessing, blesses all the items that you brought with you. It's really pretty awesome. And so we were at that point really excited, and experienced kind of a little change of emotion, because then he starts welcoming the cardinals, who one by one come up to him, kiss his ring or whatever they do, and say he talks to them. And we just decided that it wasn't worth our waiting just to watch these cardinals go up. His address was done, the audience was finished, and we were very eager to go get some stuff from the Vatican. You know, a lot of people wanted to shop. And just off the square is a very famous gift shop that we were pointed in the direction of by our tour guy. He said, that's the place you want to go. There's a lot of places around. He said, no, that's the one you want to go. So I went there, and it was kind of neat. They had a gelato ice cream little parlor off to the side. They had restrooms. You go in, they had a lot of shopping. It was 2 levels. I actually bought postcards for all my grandkids in advance, and I had addressed them, and I had them with me, and I bought stamps at the Vatican and put the Vatican stamp and put them in the Vatican mail, and those postcards were mailed from the Vatican to my grandkids. And I got them for different things for different kids, like a St. Anthony for Anthony and stuff like that. So this was really a pretty incredible day. It was only beginning. We grabbed a very quick lunch and then drove to the Coliseum. And we had a tour guide for the Coliseum. You can't get close to the Coliseum with the bus. You gotta walk. It's a pretty far walk, and the Coliseum is huge, and you kind of have to walk around it to the place where the groups enter, which we did. And we got in, and everybody had to go to the bathroom, and so we had to wait, because you got to wait for the bathroom. So the delay was a little while, 45 minutes maybe, and then we got to start the tour. The tour was phenomenal. What I didn't know, just a couple of points about the Coliseum, is first of all, when the Coliseum was up and running in its heyday, it was totally covered in marble. So what you see now is not the way it looked then. So you might ask, what happened to all the marble? I was amazed at the answer to that question. The marble from the Coliseum was mined, that's the word they used, but stripped and used to build the Basilica, St. Peter's Basilica. So the marble in there came from the Coliseum. That's an incredible reality that I had no idea about. Also, when you're in the Coliseum, you walk out on one of the areas and you're looking out to the center, and if you can imagine, what you usually see is all these little, it looks like a maze where rats would run around. Well, that was actually under the floor of the Coliseum, which at the time was marble. Well, it's not there anymore. But under there are all these compartments where the animals were kept, where the gladiators were kept, where the people that were going to be, you know, all that stuff. So so it was seeing the Coliseum from that perspective was really, and the unique thing about how this all comes together at the end is you end the pilgrimage with a not so spiritual tour of a facility, it's you know, the history of the emperor doing whatever he did at the Coliseum. But then you realize they took the marble and built the basilica, and it transcends the Coliseum to the spiritual dimension of the basilica. So we ended the day with a day that started with the Pope and the papal audience, ended with this not so spiritual experience of seeing the Coliseum, and it blends together because the marble from the Coliseum was used to build St. Peter's Basilica. Just an incredible culmination to an awesome pilgrimage. You know, if I had to say anything in concluding, I would say this, that going to Italy on a pilgrimage is a little bit different because you really focus on the spiritual. Having Father Eric with us, having Mass, you know, every day was incredible. But you do get to another country, you do get to experience the culture, the food, the language, and you see things from a different perspective. I highly encourage, if you get a chance to go travel on a pilgrimage, to do it, because it will enrich your life. Our pilgrimage was great. It was fantastic. And I'm going to post this video. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and then like the video, share it. My next video I'm going to do a little later today is going to go back to the Holy Land pilgrimage from last year, because there's something very special happening here in Baton Rouge as I speak that emanates from that pilgrimage. Till next time, everybody, God loves you, and I love you too. God bless.